Diane taps her wine glass with a butter knife and says, "Since everyone's here, I can finally announce that I'm gutting the guest suite." My husband smiles and hands her a roll of renovation plans tied with the blue ribbon from our kitchen drawer. I stare at him. "You made plans?" "Mom made plans," Owen says. "I helped." When I ask why no one bothered to tell me, he lowers his voice as if I'm the one creating a scene. "Could you stop acting ungrateful for once?" The doorbell rings. A contractor steps inside carrying a laser measure and wearing the logo of the company I paid 2 weeks ago. I ask him to check who funded the deposit. He studies his tablet, glances at me, and dials the number on the account. My phone rings beside Diane's plate. For 1 second, the only sound in the dining room is my ringtone and the faint ticking of the brass key on Diane's wrist. Owen isn't surprised. That is the part I can't look away from. Diane's sister, Ruth, lets out a small laugh because she thinks there has been some kind of mix-up. Well, mystery solved. The 2 cousins at the other end of the table don't laugh. Vanessa looks at my phone, then at the plans in front of Diane. Her husband, Paul, becomes deeply interested in buttering a piece of bread that is already buttered. The contractor ends the call. My phone stops ringing. "Mrs. Mercer?" he says to me. "Technically," Diane says, "we're both Mrs. Mercer." He shifts his tablet against his stomach. "Mara Mercer. That's me. I'm Cal Rivera. I spoke with Owen about the updated scope." "Updated from what?" Owen pushes his chair back. "Can we do this after lunch?" Cal looks from him to me. He has the careful expression of someone who has walked into a room and immediately found the loose floorboard. The original scope was drainage correction along the west wall, replacement of 3 windows in the rear suite, mold treatment, then interior repair. The revised scope adds a kitchenette, a bathroom reconfiguration, 2 closets, exterior stairs, and finish upgrades. Diane makes a little circling motion with her hand. "It's all in the plans." She says plans the way some people say proof. I pick up the roll. The ribbon is knotted tightly. I know because I tied the same kind of knot around a basket of bread 20 minutes earlier, before Ruth arrived with grocery store daisies and Diane swept in, carrying 2 bottles of wine she knew I didn't like. "Where did you get this ribbon?" I ask Owen. His face changes just slightly. "What?" "The ribbon." "Mara," Diane says, "we can buy you another ribbon." Vanessa studies her napkin. I untie it. The plans spring open across the table, knocking into a bowl of roasted carrots. Diane snatches the bowl away before a smear of butter can touch the paper. The first page shows our house from above. The rear suite is shaded pale blue. Walls that exist are dotted lines. Walls that don't exist are solid. My drafting desk is gone. So is the narrow oak cabinet where we keep extra linens, board games, and the chipped green lamp Owen bought at an estate sale because I said it looked like something from an old detective movie. In their place is a peninsula with seating for 2. The words "Diane's Suite" are printed in the lower right corner. "Who drew these?" I ask. "A residential designer I know," Diane says. "She gave me a very friendly rate." "I paid her," Owen says. Diane touches his sleeve, which I intend to reimburse. It's an old dance between them. Diane announces an expense as though it is a gift. Owen rushes to pay it, and 6 months later, everyone remembers only her generosity. Cal clears his throat. "Before we measure anything, I need to confirm authorization from the account holder. The deposit was $14,800. Ruth's eyebrows rise. "That much?" "It includes remediation," I say. Diane looks genuinely offended by the word. "There's no mold in my suite. It isn't your suite." The sentence lands harder than I intend, or maybe exactly as hard. She sits straighter. Diane can make stillness feel theatrical. She's wearing cream pants and a coral blouse with gold buttons, dressed less for lunch than for the photograph she had expected someone to take beside her plans. Owen rubs the back of his neck. "Can we please not get hung up on labels?" "Your mother's name is printed on the building plans. It identifies the intended occupant." Paul puts down his bread. "I could use more iced tea." "No, you couldn't," Vanessa says without looking at him. Cal's mouth almost moves. He controls it. I ask, was my deposit transferred to this? Applied to the revised project, yes, he says. Nothing has been spent on materials yet. We have site assessment and design coordination billed, but the balance is intact. I never approved a revised project. I told them you were on board, Owen says. He says it quickly before Cal can answer. The admission sits between us, too plain to misunderstand. Diane reaches for her wine. Owen said the two of you had discussed making better use of the space. We discussed replacing the windows. And now you'll get new windows plus a beautiful apartment. With my money. She gives me the patient smile she uses with waiters who have not yet understood that she is helping them. An investment in your own home is hardly money thrown away. Then why didn't you pay the deposit? Owen says my name, not loudly. That makes it worse. Cal turns the tablet so I can see the signature box. Mrs. Mercer, I can place the project on hold. Since the original work involves an active moisture issue, I would recommend we schedule a separate inspection soon, but we won't proceed today without your approval. Diane sets down her glass. Owen owns this house too. Yes, ma'am. He authorized you. He authorized the scope change. The funding account requires approval from the cardholder. Diane looks at Owen. A silent order passes between them, old enough to have worn a groove. Owen stands. Cal, give us 10 minutes. I don't need 10 minutes, I say. Put it on hold. Owen's head turns toward me. Cal taps the screen. You'll receive confirmation by email. Diane pushes her chair back. At least take the measurements. You're already here. I have the existing measurements. The closet wall changed. Cal clips the laser measure back onto his belt. Then I'll measure it if the project resumes. Ruth lifts her water glass and takes a long drink, though it's empty. I walk Cal to the door. The green glass bowl is on the entry table, where it has been for 11 years. It holds my car key, the key to Owen's truck, 2 house keys, the mailbox key, and a tiny silver key to a fireproof box we haven't opened since we refinanced. There should be 3 house keys. Diane follows us, her heels clicking against the floor. The brass key hanging from her bracelet taps softly against a gold charm. Cal pauses with his hand on the door. Is that one of ours? I ask. Diane looks down as if she has forgotten the key is there. Owen gave it to me so I could meet workers when you two aren't available. When did he do that? Thursday, Owen says from behind me. I turn. Thursday. You were at work. That answer is so useless I almost laugh. Cal opens the door. Cool air slides into the hall, smelling of wet leaves and someone's charcoal grill. I'll send the hold confirmation and the current billing detail, Mrs. Mercer. Thank you. He gives Owen a brief nod, then walks down the front steps. Diane closes the door herself. That was humiliating. Vanessa appears in the dining room doorway holding her purse. We should go. You just got here, Diane says. We've been here an hour and 40 minutes. Paul comes up behind her carrying the daisies Ruth brought, then realizes they aren't his and puts them on the entry table. One stem drops into the key bowl. Diane watches them leave with an expression that suggests they have failed a character test. Ruth lingers, gathering containers from the table. Take the chicken, I tell her. Oh, honey, no. Please. She takes it. Diane says, Ruth, you don't have to run off because Mara is upset. Ruth snaps the lid onto the container. I'm leaving because I've had 2 glasses of wine and she just gave me chicken. It's almost funny. Under different circumstances, I might have laughed. At the door, Ruth touches my arm. The design is lovely, she says softly. Maybe everybody just got ahead of themselves. Everybody. Then she kisses Diane's cheek and leaves. I stand in the entryway until the sound of her car fades. The loose daisy stem lies across our keys. Diane removes it and sets it beside the bowl. Can we finish lunch like civilized people? She asks. Owen is already stacking plates. He does this when he wants credit for being calm. He stacks dishes loudly and wipes counters no one asked him to wipe. I'd like to know when you decided to move into our house, I say. Diane folds the plans with great care. I haven't decided anything irrevocable. Your name is on the drawings, because the room has to suit me. For how long? She glances at Owen. There it is again. I say, how long? Owen carries plates into the kitchen. A year, probably. Diane follows him. 6 months to a year. You told me your bathroom was being remodeled. It is. For a year. The bathroom is part of a larger plan. What larger plan? Owen opens the dishwasher. The bottom rack rolls out so hard that 2 glasses knock together. Diane places the plans on my kitchen island. My condo is too much space for one person. The building fees went up again, and they're talking about a special assessment for the elevators. I can rent it furnished and generate income instead of watching the place consume money. I wait for the rest. She smooths the ribbon beside the plans. Living here would let me do that. For free. I would contribute. How much? Mara, Owen says. No, it's a simple question. How much? Diane's face tightens. I'm not discussing my finances in the middle of an argument. You were willing to discuss mine in front of a contractor. I didn't know you paid the deposit. That stops me. Owen turns away from the dishwasher. Diane looks at him. You told me it came from the house account. It was for the house, he says. That isn't what I asked, I say. He closes his eyes briefly. Mara paid it on her card because we wanted the points. It had nothing to do with points. The contractor's office required a card for the deposit, and Owen said his was close to the limit because he had booked a fishing trip for his sales team. He promised to transfer his half after his next commission check. That check came 10 days ago. I look at Diane. So you thought we were paying for your apartment? I thought my son was managing an improvement to his property. Our property. Of course. She says it too late. Owen braces both hands on the counter. Mom's condo is her only real source of security. If she can rent it, she'll have breathing room. This helps everyone. How does it help me? You've been saying the suite needs work. I said it needs dry walls. And now it'll have them. Behind her cabinets. Diane picks up her purse. I'm not going to stand here and be spoken about like a piece of furniture. Then don't move yourself into my house like one. Owen's palm hits the counter. Not hard, but hard enough. Mara, enough. The kitchen goes still. Diane looks down, almost modestly. She likes being defended, but she likes appearing reluctant about it even more. I can feel my pulse in my teeth. You gave her a key. You spent my deposit. You told a contractor I agreed. And you're telling me I've gone too far? I'm telling you that you could have handled this privately. You unveiled it at lunch. That was Mom's idea. Diane's head lifts, because I thought it was happy news. Owen looks at her, then at me, caught for half a second between the truth and the version that will get him through the room faster. He chooses the faster version. She was trying to include you. I walk past them to the dining room. Dirty plates crowd the table around the open plans. In the rendering, the private entrance has a small landing with 2 chairs. Someone has drawn a potted lemon tree beside them. Diane has always wanted a lemon tree and has killed 3. Near the title block is a date, 8 weeks ago. The day before that date, Owen and I had eaten takeout in the guest suite because the dining room ceiling was being painted. I had sat at my drafting desk while he leaned against the oak cabinet, dipping fries into my milkshake. He asked me where I would put an exterior staircase if we ever added one. I pointed through the window and told him the grade was wrong on that side. In the plans, the staircase is exactly where I said it should go. He had not been talking to me. He had been taking notes. Owen comes into the room behind me. I know how this looks. I touch the printed date with one finger. No, I say. I don't think I know how this looks yet. His gaze drops to the plans. Behind him, Diane removes the brass house key from her bracelet. For a hopeful second, I think she is going to return it. Instead, she slips it into her purse. Give it back, I said. Diane's hand remained inside her purse. Excuse me? The key. Owen gave it to me. Owen didn't have my permission. She looked at him with tired disbelief, inviting him to deal with the unreasonable woman in his dining room. Owen pinched the bridge of his nose. "Mom, could you give us a minute?" "I'm happy to leave." "With the key?" "This is absurd. I have watered your plants, brought in packages, waited for plumbers. And you can do those things when we ask you." Her cheeks darkened. "I don't need to sneak into your house, Mara." "Then returning the key shouldn't be difficult." Owen stepped between us without seeming to realize he had done it. "I'll get it from her later." Diane gave me a thin smile. She gathered her plans, leaving the blue ribbon on the table, and kissed Owen near his ear. "Call me when things are calmer," she murmured. The front door shut. Her heels crossed the porch, then stopped. A moment later, the lock turned from the outside. She had used the key to prove she had it. Owen stared at the door. "Still planning to get it later?" I asked. "She's hurt." "So am I." "She didn't know about the money." "You did." He turned toward the kitchen. "I'm not having this conversation while you're trying to trap me with every word. I asked one question. You've asked 30. Here's 31. When were you going to tell me she was moving in?" He picked up the blue ribbon and wound it around his fingers. "When we had a real proposal. You had plans, a contractor, a deposit, and a key. What was missing? A ribbon cutting." His eyes flashed, then dropped to the ribbon. For half a second, he almost smiled. Owen had always laughed when he shouldn't. At funerals, during fire drills, once when my heel broke as I walked into his company Christmas party. It used to make me love him. He laid the ribbon flat. "I wanted to show you something complete. Every time I bring up my mother, you start listing reasons something won't work." "Maybe because you bring her up after you've promised her something. That isn't fair." "Did you promise her the suite?" "I told her we'd figure it out." "Did you promise she could rent her condo?" "That's her decision. Based on living here." He looked toward the hallway, toward the back of the house. "She's worried, Mara." "So you lied to me." "I avoided a fight while I worked out the details." "That's what you're calling it? What would you call canceling everything in front of my family? Stopping a contractor from spending my money, our money, my card, my payment. You never transferred your half. My commission was lighter than expected. You received it 10 days ago. The answer came too fast. I had other obligations. I waited." He rubbed the back of his neck. "How much did you give her?" "Nothing." "How much did you pay for her?" "That's not the same thing." I walked to the office nook off the kitchen and opened the laptop we used for household bills. He followed me, objecting before I had even typed the password. "Mara, don't turn this into an audit. The joint checking account showed our mortgage, utilities, insurance, the grocery store, and a payment of $642 to Diane's condominium association." I turned the screen. "It was the quarterly increase," he said. "She got caught short. She just bought a $2,000 sectional. That's for the rental. She's furnishing a rental she can't afford to own? She can afford it once it produces income. While she lives here for whatever she feels like contributing." He shoved his hands into his pockets. "You make everything sound ugly." "I'm reading numbers." "No, you're assigning motives." He could make the difference sound profound if he lowered his voice enough. I closed the laptop. "No one moves into this house unless we both agree." "It's my house, too." "Yes." "So I get a voice." "A voice isn't a second vote you cast for your mother." He stood very still. "You really hate the idea of helping her this much?" There it was, the clean little door he wanted me to walk through. If I said yes, I was cruel. If I said no, we could return to discussing paint colors. "I hate that my husband spent 8 weeks teaching 2 other people how to get around me." He looked as if I had slapped him, which was almost enough to make me apologize. Almost. That night, he slept in our bedroom, and I slept in the guest suite on the pull-out sofa. The room smelled faintly damp near the windows. I lay awake looking at the shapes the streetlights made through the blinds. My drafting desk stood against the interior wall, covered with sample books from the commercial interiors firm where I worked. The oak cabinet glowed softly beneath the green detective lamp. I remembered Owen leaning there with French fries, asking innocent questions. At 1 in the morning, I opened the bottom drawer of my desk and found a yellow legal pad. On the first blank page, I wrote down everything I could remember him asking: staircase placement, plumbing access, whether the oak trim was worth saving, how much a small kitchenette might cost. The list filled the page. At 7:12 Monday morning, Cal's email arrived. The deposit had been placed on hold. His company had billed $950 for preliminary coordination, including review of the revised drawings. The remaining $13,850 could be returned, credited to the original repair scope, or held for 30 days while we decided. He attached both versions of the work order. The first carried my electronic signature. The second carried Owen's. Under owner approval, Owen had typed, "Wife aware. Final finishes pending." I read those 4 words until they stopped looking like language. Owen came into the suite in his work clothes, knotting his tie. "Are you planning to stay in here?" "I was planning to work in here before it became Diane's kitchen. Can we not start first thing?" I turned the laptop toward him. He read the line. His fingers went still on his tie. "That's standard wording. Is it true? I believed you'd be aware by the time work started." Cal came to start measuring. "Measuring isn't work. Why didn't you write 'wife will be informed eventually'?" He pulled the knot tight. "You're enjoying this." I closed the laptop slowly. "What? Making me the bad guy, going through accounts, collecting evidence. I slept 3 hours. So did I. Then we're both having a wonderful time." He grabbed his jacket from the sofa arm. "I have a meeting. Ask your mother for the key." I said I would. "And tell her not to bring anything here." His jaw tightened. "She is not moving in today." That wasn't what I said. He left without answering. I worked from the office that day instead of coming home after my morning site visit. At lunch, I spread the household statements across the small conference room and discovered how easily generosity became invisible when it repeated on schedule. I paid the internet and water from my personal account because I had set them up before we opened the joint account. I bought most groceries because the market was on my route. I renewed the home service plan every spring. Sunday lunch, which Diane called our family tradition, appeared as dozens of charges for meat, wine, flowers, and whatever ingredient she had requested after I had already shopped. None of it was ruinous. That almost made it worse. Owen had come to understand my money the same way he understood clean towels: present, useful, and beneath discussion. I changed the internet and water payments to come from the joint account. Then I transferred exactly half of the mortgage, insurance, and average utilities for the month. No cushion, no grocery estimate, no extra amount for things that might come up. I emailed Owen the calculation. He called 2 minutes later. "What is this?" "My share of the fixed bills." "We've never split everything down the middle." "No, we haven't." "I pay for things." "You paid your mother's condo fee." "It came from my contribution." "It came from an account I refill when it runs low." "You make more than I do." "Some months." "You make more than I do when your commissions are good." "So this is punishment." It's clarity. You know what? That sounds exactly like punishment said by someone with a spreadsheet. A coworker passed the conference room's glass wall. I turned my chair. "I'm not subsidizing decisions I wasn't allowed to make," I said. "Mom has nothing to do with our internet. She has the password." He hung up. When I got home, the green glass bowl held 2 house keys, mine and Owen's. I counted them twice before I noticed a new scratch in the bowl, a pale crescent across the bottom. The kitchen was empty. Owen had left a note saying he was meeting a client. I opened the refrigerator and found half a lemon, mustard beer, and a glass container of roasted carrots from Sunday. Ruth had taken the chicken. Diane had taken both bottles of wine. I ate the carrots standing at the counter. At 8, someone unlocked the front door. Diane walked in carrying a cardboard box marked winter clothes. She jumped when she saw me. "Good Lord. What are you doing?" I texted Owen. "That isn't what I asked." She set the box on the entry table, crowding the key bowl. I'm having the condo photographed Friday. The closets need to look spacious. You can rent a storage unit. I'm putting one box in a room no one uses. I use it every day. You slept there one night. The answer was too precise. I looked at her. Owen told you? He's worried about you. He should talk to me then. He tries. You cross-examine him. Diane lifted the box again and walked toward the back hallway. I stepped into her path. She stopped. We were close enough for me to smell her perfume, something powdery and expensive that clung to our curtains after Sunday lunches. Mara, she said, I am not your enemy. Then stop entering my house after I've told you not to. My son gave me a key to his home. He gave away something that belonged to both of us. You don't object when I use that key to wait for your refrigerator repairman. I asked you to do that. I have spent 11 years doing favors for you, and I thanked you for them. Favors don't buy permanent access. Her grip tightened on the cardboard. When your gallbladder surgery went wrong, who sat here for 4 days? You did. Who brought food? Who washed your hair? You did. And this is how you see me now, as some freeloader trying to invade your precious little room. For a moment, I could feel her fingers working shampoo through my hair while I sat wrapped in a towel, too weak to lift my arms. She'd been brisk and gentle. She had changed the sheets without being asked. Contradiction is a cruel kind of leverage. I don't see you as a freeloader, I said. I see you carrying a box into a room you planned to take without asking me. Her eyes shone, but she did not cry. Diane considered crying in front of an adversary poor strategy. I was told you would agree once you understood the benefits. By Owen. Yes. And when he told you I'd paid the deposit, he didn't. But now you know. She shifted the box against her hip. That can be corrected. How? I can reimburse part of it after the condo is rented. Part. According to the value the improvements add to your property. There it was. Even her repayment required me to buy her kitchen. I took the box from her hands. It was lighter than I expected. I carried it to the porch and set it outside. Diane followed, her face rigid. You're forcing him to choose. No, I'm asking him to stop volunteering me. I held out my hand. She looked at it. The key. You'll have to speak to your husband. She picked up the box and walked to her car. Owen came home 20 minutes later. He saw the scratch in the green bowl before he looked at me. You threw my mother out. She brought a box. She needs to stage the condo. She has an entire condo to store it in. He dropped his keys into the bowl. Brass struck glass with a sharp little crack. You don't get a unilateral veto, he said. Neither do you. Then, I guess we find a compromise. A compromise starts before the contractor arrives. He loosened his tie. You stopped the contractor, you moved money, you blocked Mom from storing one box. What exactly are you leaving me to compromise about? The future. He looked tired then, older. For 1 weak second, I wanted to touch his face. His phone buzzed. Diane's name lit the screen. He turned it over, but not before we both saw it. I asked Cal to inspect the moisture Wednesday, I said. Only the original damage. I have a sales call Wednesday. You don't need to be here. His eyes moved toward the guest suite. Don't make any decisions without me, he said. I almost asked if he hurt himself. Instead, I picked up his key from the green bowl and placed it back in his hand. Then keep track of yours. His fingers closed around the key. Fine, he said. I will. He carried it upstairs instead of returning it to the bowl. Cal arrived Wednesday at 9 with a moisture meter, an inspection camera, and blue covers stretched over his work boots. Owen's truck was gone. For all his concern about being excluded, he had kept his sales call. Cal examined the rear windows first, then walked outside and crouched beside the west wall. Rainwater had carved a shallow groove through the mulch and exposed the black edge of an old drain pipe. Downspout empties too close to the foundation, he said. Grade sends it right back here. We correct that before opening the interior wall. How bad do you think it is? Meter will tell us what's wet. Camera might tell us why. He stood and brushed mulch from his gloves. The revised contractor notes had demolition first. Diane's apartment plans? He nodded. Remove finishes, inspect framing, proceed as required. That sounds official. It means open the wall and find out what you bought. I led him through the private side door into the suite. He stopped just inside and looked around as if comparing the actual room with the pale blue drawing on his tablet. My desk was still intact, so was the oak cabinet. The green lamp cast a circle over a stack of fabric samples. Nice trim, he said. My husband's mother wants it painted white. That's between you and your husband's mother. You learn fast. I've been married 19 years. He pressed the meter beneath the nearest window. It chirped. Cal worked quietly, marking small pieces of painter's tape with numbers. The readings climbed toward the floor. Behind the baseboard, his camera found darkened sheathing, but no visible damage to the studs. The wall needs to be opened, he said. After we stop the water. If somebody opens it first, you risk making the room unusable while you wait on exterior work. Can you put that in writing? He looked at me. I'm collecting evidence, I said. According to your husband? He has a way of making basic information sound hostile. Cal slipped the camera back into its case. I'll write an assessment. Information doesn't become hostile until someone dislikes what it says. The side door opened. Diane entered carrying coffee for two. She wore a quilted vest and sunglasses, although the morning was gray. I thought Owen would be here, she said. He isn't. She handed one coffee to Cal. No sugar. Owen said that was how you take it. Cal accepted it because refusing would have required a longer conversation. Diane surveyed the blue tape on the wall. How soon can you have this opened? After the drainage is corrected. The other contractor said they could begin inside. I looked at her. What other contractor? She removed her sunglasses. Someone Owen knows through work. Cal set the untouched coffee on the windowsill. If another company is doing the project, I'll need written direction on the deposit. No one has hired another company, I said. Diane's pause was small but visible. This is getting ridiculous, she said. We're talking about removing wet drywall, not invading Poland. You're also talking about my desk as if it's already gone. It's a desk, Mara. It's where I work. You have an office. And you have a condo. Cal picked up his case. I'll send the assessment this afternoon. Diane followed him to the front hall. Could you price the exterior stairs separately? No, ma'am. Why not? Because the account holder asked me to assess water damage. Her gaze moved to me. Of course. Cal took off the blue covers and folded them into his case. Before leaving, he nodded toward the coffee on the windowsill. You can have that, he told me. Apparently I don't take sugar. Diane waited until his truck pulled away. You enjoy having him treat me like I'm foolish. I didn't tell him how to treat you. You create an atmosphere. You arrived at an inspection I didn't invite you to. My son asked me to be here. Then he can drink the coffee. She picked up both cups and walked out through the front door. This time I heard the latch click, not the lock. She had left the door unlocked behind her. I checked the green bowl. My key was there. Owen's wasn't. The mailbox key and silver firebox key had been pushed to one side. That evening, Owen came home with Thai food and the careful energy of a man approaching an animal that might bite. I got your usual, he said. We ate at the kitchen island. He did not mention Diane. I did not mention the other contractor. For 20 minutes, we talked about his client presentation and a hotel lobby my firm was redesigning in Nashville. He remembered the name of the stone sample I had hated. I remembered which regional manager always interrupted him. It felt so normal that I could see how easy it would be to let normal become the apology. He folded the top of his takeout carton. Mom's scared. There it was. I know. She acts like she has a plan because being scared embarrasses her. She made architectural drawings because fear embarrasses her. See, that? You turn everything into a line. I'm trying not to turn it into a kitchenette. He leaned back. The condo fee has gone up 4 times. The elevator assessment could be 20 grand. Then help her make a plan that doesn't require lying to me. She wants to keep the condo. It's the last thing she and Dad bought together. That softened something in me despite myself. Owen's father had died 6 years earlier, and Diane still kept his raincoat on a hook near her garage door. She complained that it gathered dust but never moved it. She can keep it, I said. Maybe she rents it and finds a smaller apartment. Maybe she stays here for 3 months while she does that, if we agree on dates and expenses. She does not get a permanent apartment we pay to build. Owen rubbed his thumb along the carton's paper edge. Paying rent somewhere else defeats the point. Only if the point is living here free. She'd contribute. She won't name an amount, because you asked her like she was applying for public housing. I stared at him. He let out a breath. That came out wrong. It came out finished. I'm trying, Mara. No, you're trying to get me to approve the decision you already made. He stood and carried both cartons to the trash. Because if I had asked you at the beginning, you would have said no. He looked almost relieved after saying it. I waited for him to hear what he had admitted. He didn't. The written assessment arrived at 4:16 the next afternoon. At 4:22, Owen forwarded me an estimate from a company called Quick Build Residential. The subject line read, "Alternative." Their price for demolition was less than half Cal's. Below the forwarded estimate, Owen had written, "We can open the wall, see what we're dealing with, and pause. No apartment decisions required." I replied with Cal's warning about exterior drainage. Owen wrote, "Quick Build says this is normal order." I wrote, "I do not consent to interior demolition." He did not answer. Sunday lunch did not happen. At 11, Diane texted the family thread asking whether anyone had heard from me. I left the message unread. Owen made eggs and ate them over the sink. At noon, he drove to her condo with the roasted coffee beans she liked, a package that had been delivered to our house, and the folding table I normally used for holiday dinners. He didn't ask before taking it. At 2, Ruth knocked on the door holding my glass casserole dish. "I'm not staying," she said immediately. "I'm returning this before I get accused of joining a side." You washed off the name label. It was surrendering to the dishwasher anyway. She stepped inside and glanced toward the dining room. "No lunch? No lunch." Diane made it sound like you canceled Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is 7 months away. She likes advance notice. I put the dish in a cabinet. Ruth remained by the island, turning her car keys around one finger. "She asked if she could put her dining set in my garage," she said. "What did you say?" "I said Greg's motorcycle is in there." "Does Greg have a motorcycle?" "He's always wanted one." I laughed before I could stop myself. Ruth smiled, then lost it. "Mara, I thought this was temporary. Owen told us she'd stay with you while the condo was rented. Now she's talking about ordering a custom banquette. For the kitchenette." She showed me fabric. "Was it blue?" "Yellow." "Good." For a second, I thought she might make a bad decision. Ruth put her keys in her pocket. "She said Owen told her you'd come around once the walls were open." The room seemed to sharpen around me. Those words? More or less. Ruth. Those words. I thanked her. She looked ashamed of having told me, which made me believe her. On Tuesday afternoon, I returned from a site meeting to find a white truck backed into our driveway. The green bowl was on the floor beside the entry table. It had not broken. A pale chip marked the rim, and keys lay scattered across the rug. Plaster dust covered them. A plastic runner led down the hallway. The oak trim had been pried from the guest suite doorway and stacked against the dining room wall. Inside, my desk stood in 6 pieces. Sample books filled 2 black trash bags. The oak cabinet had been dragged away from the wall, gouging the floor, and the green lamp sat unplugged in the center of the room. 3 men were removing drywall beneath the windows. "Stop," I said. A man in a Quick Build shirt lowered his pry bar. "You Mara?" "Yes." "Owen said you might come by." "Come by, I live here." He wiped his forehead with his sleeve. "We have authorization from the owner. I'm an owner, and you do not have mine." He looked toward the open wall. Damp insulation sagged between the studs. A black stain spread wider than Cal's camera had shown. "I need to call my office," he said. "Do that." Owen arrived before the workers finished packing. He came through the side door, saw me standing beside the disassembled desk, and stopped. "You did this anyway." We needed to know how bad it was. We knew how to find out safely. Cal wanted to sell us exterior work first, because water comes from outside. Quick Build does this every day. The man in the company shirt walked past us without comment. I pointed to the open wall. "What happens when it rains tonight?" "They'll tarp it. The wall is open inside. It needs to dry." They pulled out trim that wasn't near the damage. That gives us room to redesign once the repairs are done. There was no point pretending anymore. I photographed every wall, every piece of trim, every scratch on the floor. Owen followed me, saying my name until it became background noise. Diane arrived carrying 2 boxes marked Crystal and Primary Bedroom. She stopped when she saw the exposed wall. "Oh," she said, "that's more than I expected." I took the boxes from her and set them outside the side door. Owen caught my wrist as I came back in. He released it immediately, but the warmth of his hand stayed there. "You cannot keep throwing her things outside. You cannot keep bringing them in. It is my house, too. Then buy my half." He stared at me. The room went quiet behind him. "Or we sell it," I said. Diane stepped over a strip of broken drywall. "Don't be dramatic." I looked at Owen. "I'm not talking to you." For the first time since Sunday lunch, his certainty slipped. He looked around the room he had opened because he believed I would close it for him. Rain tapped against the damaged windows. I picked up the green lamp, carried it to my car, and drove to a furnished studio I had toured that morning. The studio had 1 window, 1 bar stool, and a refrigerator that clicked every 6 minutes like it was considering a difficult decision. I set the green lamp on the counter because there was nowhere else to put it. Without the oak cabinet and the old floor beneath it, the lamp looked less mysterious than tired. My phone showed 4 missed calls from Owen. His first message said the workers had covered everything. His second said Diane had gone home. His third said, "We need to talk before you make this bigger." The fourth was just my name. I plugged in the lamp. Its green light filled half the room. Then I sent Owen my new arrangement for household expenses. I would continue paying half the mortgage and homeowner's insurance while I remained an owner. I would not pay for utilities I wasn't using, his mother's expenses, Quick Build, or any work I had not approved. The original deposit would remain on hold until we agreed in writing how to correct the water problem. He called immediately. "You rented an apartment?" "A studio." "For how long?" 30 days to start." "Where?" "I'm safe." That wasn't my question. "I know." Rain clicked against the window. "You can't move out every time we disagree," he said. "I've never moved out before. You left me with an open wall in a storm. I left you with the wall you opened. You know more about this stuff than I do." That was the closest he came to asking me to fix it. Cal's report tells you what to do. He won't schedule the exterior work because you froze the account. He can schedule an estimate. He can't spend my deposit. "Mara, if water gets in tonight, put plastic over the windows. Move the cabinet away from the wall. Run the dehumidifier from the basement." He was quiet. I hated how quickly the instructions came. Loving someone for 11 years teaches your body to help before your mind decides whether it should. "Thank you," he said. "Those are the last instructions." He exhaled through his nose. "When are you coming home?" "I don't know." Is this really about my mother? There are questions so dishonest they make an honest answer feel foolish. "It's about you," I said. I ended the call. The next morning, Cal replied to the photographs I had sent. Quick Build had removed more drywall than necessary, but the framing could dry if Owen kept air moving. The exterior work still had to come first. He attached a new estimate that included reinstalling salvaged trim. Owen forwarded me Quick Build's invoice 5 minutes later. They wanted $6,300 for demolition, debris removal, drying equipment, and a project initiation fee. His credit card had already been charged half. He wrote, "This is what happens when you cancel people mid-job." I answered, "This is what happens when you hire them." For 2 days, he sent nothing. Ruth helped me retrieve my work materials Thursday evening. She arrived at the house with empty plastic bins and Greg's imaginary motorcycle as her excuse for not storing anything. Owen was still at work. The dehumidifier growled in the suite. He had propped the oak trim on blocks and spread my sample books across the dining table to dry. That surprised me. So did the pieces of my desk. He had arranged them on a blanket and labeled the hardware in sandwich bags. Ruth ran a finger over one label. "He has very nice handwriting for a man who makes terrible decisions." He always has. We packed the samples that could be saved. Several books had plaster ground into the fabric. I put those in a separate bin for my office to assess. Diane's 2 boxes sat beside the private door. "You know those were outside," I said. Ruth looked at them. "Owen brought them back?" "Apparently." She read the labels. "She doesn't have a primary bedroom here." She was optimistic. Ruth lifted the box marked Crystal. "This is empty." I opened the other one. Empty. Diane had carried empty boxes into my house. Ruth lowered hers slowly. Oh, Diane. It was ridiculous, calculated, and somehow sadder than if they had been full. She had needed to make her arrival visible before she had anything ready to bring. We put the empty boxes in the recycling. Owen arrived while I was wrapping the green lamp in a towel. He stopped in the doorway. "You came back." "For my work things." His eyes moved to the bins. "Are you taking the desk?" "It won't fit in the studio." "I can rebuild it." "You took it apart." "I didn't." "The crew you hired did." He accepted that without defending himself. "I'll rebuild it." Ruth picked up 2 bins. "I'm going to make several trips very slowly." When she had gone, Owen leaned against the kitchen island. "I told QuickBuild not to come back. That was wise. They say I owe the balance. You probably do. I thought once the wall was open you'd see we had to do something with the room. We did have to do something. We had to fix the leak. You know what I mean?" "Yes." He looked toward the rear hallway. "Mom's photographer came today. She wants all her furniture out before she lists." "Where is it going?" "She assumed some could come here. Then she assumed wrong. She can't afford storage and the assessment and the renovation." "There is no renovation." His mouth tightened. "So that's it? You decide?" "I decided what I will fund and what I will consent to. You can decide whether you want to own this house with me under those conditions. Or sell it." "Yes." He stared at the countertop. "You'd really sell our home over one room. I would end our marriage over being treated like the funding source for a decision you hid from me. I didn't hide our whole marriage from you. No, just the part where my no stopped mattering." His eyes reddened. He looked angry about it. "You think I'm some kind of user," he said. "I think you wanted to be your mother's rescuer and you sent me the bill." He pushed away from the island. "Take your things." I did. The first automatic payment failed 9 days later. It was the home service plan, a small charge compared with the mortgage. But the joint account was short because Owen had made another payment to QuickBuild. He called from the service company's automated menu. "Why didn't you tell me the balance was low?" "You can see the balance. You always keep a cushion. I told you I wasn't doing that anymore. So I'm supposed to monitor every bill now?" "Yes." He laughed once, without humor. "You've been waiting for me to fail." "No, you've been waiting for me to prevent it." I heard him breathing. In the background, Diane said, "Ask her about the deposit." "Is your mother at the house?" She came over to talk. "Use speaker." "Mara, put me on speaker." There was a rustle. Then Diane's voice filled the line. "This situation is becoming financially irresponsible. You hired a designer for an apartment that didn't exist. I did not hire the demolition crew." Owen said, "Can both of you stop?" Diane continued, If we release the original deposit, the house can be repaired. Then we can discuss the rest sensibly. We can release it for Cal's original work and restoration to make the room sound and usable. As what? A guest suite. She went silent. Owen said, Cal thinks we'll still need additional money. Quick Build created additional work. That doesn't change the fact that it has to be paid for. You pay it. With what? Diane answered before he could. He assumed the condo rent would help. This silence was different. I sat straighter on the studio's bar stool. Owen said, Mom, you told me the rental income would cover some household costs. I said if you lived there, you'd contribute. I said I would contribute when I could. You're expecting almost $3,000 a month. Before fees, taxes, the assessment, insurance, cleaning, and repairs. So what were you planning to contribute? I wasn't going to sign over my income to justify staying with my own son. It's not signing it over. You made it sound as if the renovation was handled. I thought you were paying for cabinets once the room was ready. With what? They had both counted my money, then counted each other's. Diane's voice cooled. This is a conversation we should have privately. I almost laughed. Owen came back on the line. Can you meet Cal at the house? I'll ask him. Mara. Yes? Please. It was the first clean request he had made. Cal met us the following Monday in the half-demolished suite. He set 3 printed estimates on my disassembled desk, which Owen had reassembled over the weekend. The drawers stuck, and one leg carried a new crack, but it stood. Diane arrived last with the pale blue plans under her arm. She had tied them with a yellow ribbon this time. Cal explained the options. The remaining deposit would cover the exterior drainage, window replacement, mold treatment, and most of the basic wall restoration. Saving and reinstalling the oak trim would cost more because Quick Build had split several pieces. Returning the room to its previous condition would require another $4,700. The kitchenette and bathroom redesign would require permits, new plumbing, and considerably more money. Diane slid the plans onto the desk. What if we eliminated the exterior stairs for now? Cal didn't touch them. You'd still need the work priced as a separate project. The wall is already open. For water remediation. Owen looked at me. What will you authorize? The original repairs, mold treatment, restoration sufficient to use the room and sell the house. Diane's head snapped toward me. Sell? I told Owen. I thought that was something said during an argument. It was something said during a decision. Owen walked to the window. Outside, fresh gravel marked the trench Cal had recommended but had not yet been hired to dig. What if I don't agree to sell? He asked. Then we keep paying for separate places while we work through that. You know I can't afford that. I can't afford this marriage anymore. Diane made a dismissive sound. Oh, for heaven's sake. Owen turned on her. But stop. She stared at him. Just stop talking for 1 minute, he said. You keep acting like if you push hard enough, she'll make this work. I am trying to preserve your home. You wanted a free apartment. Her face emptied. You wanted the rental income, he continued, and I wanted you to think I could solve everything. Mara was supposed to pay for whatever I couldn't. He looked at me. The fact that he finally understood did not feel like victory. It felt like arriving at a restaurant after the kitchen had closed. I thought if I made it far enough along, he said, you'd help me finish. You always finish things. There it was, plain at last. Cal gathered the blue plans and handed them back to Diane. I can give you threesome privacy. No, I said. We're done with the private version. I signed authorization for the drainage, windows, remediation, and basic restoration. I did not release funds for a kitchenette, new closets, exterior stairs, or finish upgrades. Owen signed an agreement that the extra restoration cost and quick build bill would come from his share when the house sold. His signature shook at the end. Diane stood beside the private door, holding her plans. What am I supposed to do now? She asked. Keep your condo, Owen said. Rent it and find somewhere you can afford, or don't rent it. But I can't make Mara's house your solution. Our house, I said automatically. He gave me a tired, broken smile. Not for much longer. The work took 7 weeks. Owen learned to monitor the joint account. He canceled the home service plan, then reinstated it after the water heater made a noise he didn't like. He cooked. He paid quick billed. He stopped bringing Diane's boxes to the house. I attended repair meetings but did not manage them. When Cal asked Owen a question, I let Owen answer. Sometimes he answered wrong and corrected it later. Nothing collapsed because I allowed him to experience the weight of his own decisions. Diane did not list the condo. The photographer's pictures remained in a folder on her computer while she argued with the association about the assessment. Ruth's garage acquired no dining set. The morning the restored house went on the market, Diane came by alone. She placed the brass key in my palm. "I did help you," she said, "over the years." "You did." "I loved you." "I loved you too." Her chin lifted. "Past tense?" "I don't know yet." She looked toward the guest suite. The oak trim had been repaired, though the split pieces remained visible if the light hit them sideways. "I thought Owen had more money than he did," she said. "I know." "And I thought you would agree eventually." "I know that too." She left without asking for the key back. We accepted an offer the following month. At closing, the unauthorized demolition and extra restoration came from Owen's share, exactly as agreed. We divided the rest, signed the final papers, and walked to the parking lot carrying separate envelopes. "I'm sorry," he said beside my car. It was not enough, but it was true. "I know." He glanced at the green lamp on my back seat. "The desk came out okay." "It did." "I kept expecting you to tell me how to fix us." "I know." That hurt him. I watched it happen and did not rescue him from it. In my new apartment, I put the repaired desk beneath the window and the green lamp on the oak corner where it belonged. The glass key bowl sat beside the front door. It held one brass key. When I came home that night, I turned the lock behind me and dropped the key into the bowl. The sound was small, clear, and entirely mine.